Germany. Today it is a leading world power, the largest economy in Europe, and a capitalist Western nation under one rule of law. But Germany has only been a single country for 25 years. Many will remember a time when there was a border splitting Germany in two. The fall of the Berlin Wall marked the collapse of the Soviet Union and the end of the Cold War. But for the people of Germany, it marks the long overdue reunification of their nation.
Towards the end of World War II, when it became clear that the Allies were going to win the war, they discussed the fate of post-war Germany at two conferences, Potsdam and Yalta. Fearing a re-emergence of far-right hate groups, such as the Nazis, and in order to rebuild the shattered nation, the Allies agreed to temporarily divide Germany into 4 zones of occupation. The Americans, French, British, and Soviets each occupied a section of the country, and a section of the capital city, Berlin. However, growing tensions between the Allies made a unified Germany impossible. The French wanted to weaken Germany, as it had been a major historical competitor. The British and Americans felt that a reunited Germany would benefit them against the rising threat of communism and the Soviet Union. The Soviet Union also realized a united Germany would benefit the U.S. and its allies, and implemented a number of measures to turn their zone into a more communist and Soviet-reliant state. The Soviets began mass appropriation of lands and nationalized German businesses.
In May 1949, American, French, and British occupation of Germany ended, and their zones merged into the Federal Republic of Germany, also known as West Germany. The Soviet Union refused to end their occupation and instead allowed their zone to establish its own republic. Soviet-occupied Germany was from then on known as the German Democratic Republic, or East Germany. However, the Soviets ensured that East Germany would be anything but democratic. East Germany's constitution mandated that the majority of seats in parliament were held by the Socialist Unity Party, or SED, an amalgam of the German Communist and Socialist Party, and supported by the government in Moscow. Most of the public realized that this was no democratic state, but these voices were silenced by the East German Secret Police, or Stasi.
In East Germany, the state controlled all media and commerce. All businesses were owned by the state, and all products were created by it. There were large disconnects between supply and demand, creating massive surpluses and shortages. SED officials often used their status within the government to obtain goods and services faster than most citizens. This also applied to Western goods, such as various electronics and clothing, not sold to the general public. Regular East Germans still used Western goods, but these had to be smuggled in from the West and sold on black markets.
West Germany, on the other hand, had had an economic miracle after World War II. Manufacturing plants were built up after the war, and global businesses and financial firms were founded in the West. West Germany had a higher standard of living and more global connections than its Eastern counterpart. East Germans were aware of the better quality of life in West Germany, and before the Berlin Wall was built, over 2 million Germans escaped East Germany through West Berlin. The Stasi attempted to catch the escapees, and the punishment could range from imprisonment to torture to execution. This, however, did not stop millions of East Germans from, often successfully, trying to escape their country.
Und ich komme aus Burg bei Magdeburg. Das ist westlich von Berlin und das war in Ostdeutschland.
Okay.
Und da habe ich bis 13 Jahre, bis im Alter von 13 Jahren gelebt. Wir mussten mein Vater war im ostdeutschen Konzentrationslager und wir mussten eine sozialistische Familie sein, in Anführungsstrichen, damit es leichter würde, dass er freigelassen wurde.
Was ist eine sozialistische Familie?
Es war eine, die das politische System unterstützte. Man musste also in einer Partei sein und die Kinder mussten sich besonders verhalten. Die waren dabei, die Gesellschaft umzubauen.
On August 13th, 1961, the Berlin Wall was built. The main contributing factor? The massive number of East Germans leaving the country. Almost overnight, the East German People's Army built up barbed wire fences along the border surrounding West Berlin. After that, the Berlin Wall was built. There were actually 2 walls, and a minefield called the Dead Strip in between. It is estimated that over 200 people were killed trying to cross the Dead Strip, as orders given to border guards were to shoot people on sight. In the years after the Berlin Wall was built, few East Germans managed to escape, and this only made the country more reliant on the Soviet bloc and more isolated from the rest of the world.
For 25 years, the Berlin Wall remained standing, but in the 1980s, massive changes set the stage for reunification. The first major change was when Mikhail Gorbachev became the premier of the Soviet Union. He noticed former Soviet policy was not working. He changed the Soviet attitude towards Eastern Bloc countries by ending the Brezhnev Doctrine, meaning that Eastern European countries could now change their governments and policies without Soviet interference. After this political change, Hungary opened its borders with Austria, beginning a mass exodus of Germans through Hungary to Austria and finally into West Germany. Towards the end of the 1980s, collapse was imminent in East Germany. The inner cities were crumbling, the economy was crashing, shortages of goods and corruptions were rampant. The Stasi made plans to build new penal camps to house the rapidly increasing number of political prisoners. The tipping point is called Die Wende. It is marked by the leader of the Socialist Unity Party announcing that East Germany's relationship with West Germany would change, and that on November 9th, the Berlin Wall was to be taken down. Thousands gathered at the Brandenburg Gate to witness bulldozers tear down the wall separating East and West Germany.
Today I say, as long as this gate is closed, as long as this scar of a wall is permitted to stand, it is not the German question alone that remains open, but the question of freedom for all mankind. Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall.
Between the fall of the Berlin Wall in November 1989 and official Unity Day in October of 1990, the groundworks for the new Germany were set. During this time, East and West Germany grew more closely intertwined. The border between the East and the West was opened, and people moved into East Germany. However, most left for the West. The Stasi was dissolved, and most government functions were absorbed into the West. The East German constitution was amended, and in May 1990, the first and last open East German elections took place. The Socialist Unity Party was dissolved into the Party of Democratic Socialism. The center-right CDU won control of parliament in both East and West Germany, making reunification substantially easier. Negotiations were taking place in Moscow at this time, and on September 12th, the 2+4=1 treaty was agreed upon. 2 countries plus 4 former occupiers equals 1 Germany. The new Germany was similar to West Germany in its government and laws, and in the first general elections, Helmut Kohl was elected as the Chancellor of the new Federal Republic of Germany.
West Germany, due to its economic miracle, was substantially richer than East Germany. After reunification, Germany invested over $2 trillion in the East, mostly towards social benefits and reform. This heavy investing in East Germany caused what has been called the Second Economic Miracle, and the impoverished East's GDP per capita rose to nearly 2/3 of West Germany's. This reform did not completely get rid of the divide, because East Germany's population was and still is aging, and there are fewer corporations in the East than in the West. While these differences may still linger, the Germany of today is united, and the divisions of yesterday are nearly gone.